He is the programmer specialist for the Regional Bureau for Education in the Arab States in Beirut, Lebanon at UNESCO. He is an electronic lecture center coordinator and program coordinator at Al-Musanna Technical Industrial College, Sultanate of Oman, and head of technical education. Welcome with me the program specialist for technical and vocational education at UNESCO, Mr. Salim Shahadi. Most welcome. Please. She was elected as a Youth Advisory Council member at the U.S. Embassy in Beirut for 2 consecutive years, 2015-2016. In 2016, she was selected as a youth leader by the Swedish Institute of Alexandria, and she was selected to participate in Tech Women Exchange Program, where she spent 5 years mentorship period at LinkedIn in San Francisco. She teaches professional branding at St. Joseph University in Beirut and founded a social enterprise named Libro, whose mission is to turn youth challenges into opportunities. Welcome on stage, Mrs. Sarah Abdallah. She is a 14-year award-winning veteran in the content development and learning experience design industry. She has worked on a variety of educational and commercial projects involving education. In 2011, she co-founded Kashida, aiming to offer innovative learning solutions to give everyone the opportunity to learn simply. Currently, she continues to be part of Kashida's leadership team as lead learning experience designer and researcher. I invite to the stage Mrs. Ruba Murad. He was the Operations and Development Director for a group of private schools in Los Angeles, California. He also worked with the public and private education sector in the United States before moving back to Lebanon. He has successfully integrated technology into the most fundamental level of the school's team, the classroom at Eastwood International School, and made it a pioneer in the Middle East. He has given educational technology workshops and teacher training to private schools in Lebanon, Qatar, and the United Arab Emirates, and Saudi Arabia. Welcome the director at Eastwood International School, Mr. Michel Four. Our panelists will be hosted by the moderator of this panel, who is specialized in international business management, educational administration, and educational leadership. He started teaching at the university level at the age of 23 and has been teaching at 5 universities since then. In addition, he is also a news anchor, TV presenter, researcher, author, mentor, and trainer on a wide area of management, entrepreneurship, social entrepreneurship, CSR, and communication topics in Lebanon and abroad. He worked with different NGOs. He is the author of #Trends of Business, and he is the strategic advisor of Global Compact Network Lebanon. The stage is yours, Dr. Hassan Yunus.
So, thank you IFP for inviting me to this timely, very timely and rich summit. Why timely, we will discover together. Summit بالعربي يعني قمة ونحن نعيش بالقعر وبالتحديد في القعر السياسي. Sustainability بالعربي استدامة، وخطوات الاستدامة خجولة ما خلا السعي لاستدامة الكراسي والمناصب. بالحديث عن الصمت أصبحت صمت عما يهم المواطن الرقمي والجنريشن زد والديجيتال سيتيزنز، أي السكان الأصليين الرقميين. Why timely? We are talking about sustainability and sustainable development goal number 4, which is quality education, and 2030 agenda, while still adopting 1997 curricula. This digital transformation, with all its notions, augmented reality, artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, big data, omni-channels, among others, requires the contribution of prominent individuals, civil society organizations, private sector players, and most importantly, the government. When talking about the last contributor, government, you would think about transformation and compromises. Compromises لدرجة وزير بالزايد أو بالناقص to form a cabinet. Otherwise, our digital future won't be transformed and will be compromised and disrupted. I'm adopting the negative connotation of disruption, which is not compatible with the requirements of the fourth industrial revolution, which is social, mobile, analytics, and cloud, and not compatible with the knowledge economy era in which we survive and want our children to survive. Without further ado, and in the midst of pessimism, we have some brilliant ideas on long life learning or lifelong learning, digital transformation, and other education trends. These topics are to be tackled by my top-notch guests in the industry of education and its neighboring industries. Please help me welcome Salim Shahadi, Sarah Abdullah, Ruba Murad, and Michelle Khoumi. Is it now? Yes. So, the other mic is yours. So, Sarah, your background is in computer and telecommunications engineering, and you have technical consultancy experience in the technical consultancy sector. You've worked on women and youth empowerment, and you were elected as Youth Advisory Council member at the US Embassy for 2 consecutive years, in addition to being a youth leader, and you participated in Tech Women Exchange program with an internship at LinkedIn for like 5 weeks. Yeah, you were earned for that. You were selected as well as a global shaper part of the World Economic Forum for the year 2017. You have a plethora of experiences, and you aim at transforming youth challenges into opportunities, and you are currently co-leading Facebook Developers Circle. هيدا part of her biography. قلت لكم في عنا top notch names فرح تكون very brief البيوغرافيز بس البيوغرافيز تبعهم فيكم تلاقون على LinkedIn. Actually, 10% of the labor market in the tech industry is women. So, since we are talking about sustainability, here I can talk about the Sustainable Development Goal number 5, which is gender equality. There is no gender equality in this industry in particular, and we are depriving the economy of the contribution of women. What are the barriers and what can be done in that regard?
Okay, I also thank you for the introduction. And thank you for the organizer of the event. Actually, أنا بدي بلش introduction أصلي قبل ما أنا أرد على اللي أنت قلته، اللي هي أنت عم بتعدد شو، وأنا بعرف عند البايو very impressive what we are doing to serve the community. وتقريبا 80% من اللي أنت قلته it's community work، لأنه نحن we believe to be part of the solution, not be part of the problem. وما قدرنا نسأل كل الأسئلة at the panel before، بس أنا عندي تمنى إنه يا ريت we do exactly the same بالpublic sector، لأنه until now نحن بعرف قسم كبير من الprivate sector we trying our best لنقدر نحن نسكر الجابس اللي عم تكون موجودة بلا ما نحط الحق على كاسبر all the time. So we really hope إنه هيدا الشيء to be reflected again بالgovernment، especially إنه ب all the conferences اللي نحن عم نحضرهم على طول في representative، إذا مش وزير حدا عن الكتلة النيابية بيكون هو وزير. So it's time كمان نحن to ask what's exactly the problem، لأنه we are ready حتى على صعيد الدولة volunteering، ما رح نزيد cost على الدولة to help whenever we can، بس we need to localize the problem، لأنه شو ما عملنا نحن بالprivate sector الضعف بالprivate sector الضعف بالpublic sector عم بيخلي يصير شغلنا أصعب. I am a career coach. really عم قلكم عم يجي كتير أشخاص الأهل بيحكونا إنه please help our children try to find jobs لأنه بلشوا يحكوا بموضوع الانتحار. وصلنا لهيدي المرحلة، فنحن we should assess really الموضوع اللي نحن فيه لحتى نعرف how to move forward. So we really need to push على هيدي النقطة again وما نضل نعطيهم حق على كسبة. بالنسبة لموضوع الwomen 10% بس for several reasons. الومن نحن بالسوشيال كلتشر اللي نحن عنا اياها صحيح بيتخرجوا بالجامعات تقريبا 50% نحن عم نحكي على موست اوف يعني الاختصاصات، بس بنرجع بنلاقي انه بتنزل النسبه بكتير على أول ولد. I believe in technology اللي still بعدها ما تعتبر كأنه الميجر اللي هي للwomen acceptable بعدها عم نلاقيها قليلة مع أنه أنا I believe it's an opportunity for women لأنه it gives the opportunity to work from home تقدر تعطينا the flexibility we are searching for. So بالعكس we should push as much as possible for women.
What are the barriers for that? What are the barriers? شو الimpediments لهذا الشيء؟
It's mostly social. يعني بعدنا هلا عم طلع الانجينيرينج انا لما تخرجت تيليكوم انجينير هلا عم علم كمان بعدنا بدي اجي بتلاقي عدد قليل بعده في الومن انجينيرز سبيشلي سوفت وير انجينيرز. قبل كنا نقول يمكن بينزلوا على الفيلد شوي صعبه عليهم because I know physically it's not the same بس وصلنا نحن لمرحله most of our work is on software. بعدين حتى لما نحن نقول كان عم بيقول الوزير نيكولاس حلاوي انه 44% من الجوبز رح يختفوا. هن 75 مليون jobs to be specific بس رح ينخلق بدالهم 133 مليون jobs. So men and women if we didn't cope, if we aren't proactive into working on our skills وهيدا ما عم بحكي بس software engineers عم بحكي حيلا حدا بيشتغل بالHR حدا accountant كل شيء operational عم نعمله on daily basis it's gonna change كل شيء حيصير automated. عشان هيك الورد ايكونوميك فورم سماهم بدل interpersonal skills الاسم تبعهم صار human skills لانه شو ما قوية الماشين ما فيها تصير human ما حيكون عندها طابع لهيومن. So we should actually work on it بكل القطاعات لانه شو ما كان الاختصاص if we don't have digital literacy وما عم بحكي MS Office بهيدي الحالة عم بحكي any tool any software بصير نحن صعب ولكن behind. So هيدا 10% اللي نحن عم نحكي عنها ممكن تصير for women and men if we weren't proactive into actually working on our own skills.
Thanks a lot. I move to Mr. Salim Shahadi. You are program specialist for technical and vocational education. Your background is in electrical engineering, math and physics. I don't envy you at all. You've handled several positions with UN bodies as UNRWA and in the field of academia. You are an academician as well. You have an experience in technical and vocational education and training. So speaking about technical and vocational education and training, I guess we are lagging behind in that field for many reasons. And many of us do not know the distinction between the education which we receive at the level of the universities or schools, the training, development, learning which we receive in the workplace, or we don't have the notion of skills forecasting. How can you clarify the distinction between these notions?
And actually, we say about there is a big mismatch between supply and demand. The education system, they are supplying workforce, but the workforce does not have the skills required by the labor market. That one is because of different aspects. We have traditional training, actually in schools, and it's really very rigid, and does not include life and work skills or digital skills on it and entrepreneurship skills on it. And that one goes to different aspects in. We don't have something called like skill forecasting or what the future jobs are. The labor market information system, mostly in the Arab region, is absence. The skill forecasting is not, it's ad hoc basis, it depends on UN agencies or it depends on some donors, they do here and there some ad hoc things about the skill forecasting and anticipation for labor market needs and demands and assistance.
You mentioned labor market information system.
Yes.
Okay, it doesn't exist at all.
It doesn't exist in Lebanon. We have just only, and even in the Arab countries, in the MEA area, it lacks, it's not systematic.
Whose responsibility is that having such kind of information system with the presence of big data? If we leverage on that, I guess we can have an amazing information system which can direct us towards the labor market. Is it the responsibility of the private sector, public sector? Who's responsible?
Actually, we started last year with that one in, and we went to do like skill forecasting as I mentioned before, but like once we started doing it, we had lack of data, there is no data. So we start doing the skill forecasting using quantitative approach. Rather than the quantitative approach, they're missing data. And we look at the labor market in Lebanon actually, and it should be combined between the private sector and there is the National Employment Office. And we did really work with the National Employment Office and some other NGOs to improve their skills and the capacity to be able to do skill forecasting and anticipation for the labor market needs and demands, and to bring the data because they are responsible, the National Employment Office, they are responsible for career guidance, they are responsible to do studies, and they are responsible to do capacity building for the workforce for employment. But unfortunately, I mean, the number of employees back there are not really very much, and their role not really very empowered with that one. So for that one end, as discussed with them, they are supposed to have more employees from the Ministry of Labor to be provided to them, and this is what was promised last year, and we will work with them to continue on with the skill forecasting and improving their skills to be able to do skill forecasting, and hopefully at the end we will work with other UN agencies like the ILO that are interested in developing the labor market information system, but it's not really easy and it's very costly.
Thanks a lot, Salim. So I move to Ruba Murad. You are a partner and director of learning experience design at Kashida. So you are a 14-year award-winning veteran in the content development and learning experience design industry. Mr. Sahel was talking about content development, and it's a very timely topic as well. You have worked on a variety of education and commercial projects involving education. You have co-founded Kashida, aiming to offer innovative learning solutions to give everyone the opportunity to learn simply. Ruba, when asked about your favorite task in the e-learning space, your typical response is that you love to create order out of ill-defined work and to push the boundaries to really tap into learners' innate desire to learn. Can you clarify this statement?
Sure. Hi, thank you. So first off, when we look at the ill-defined space of learning, it's especially current now with the fourth industrial revolution, because the way people learn has actually expanded to the more informal ways of learning. And people want access to learning, and because of the changing job market. Besides that, there's the new generation that's going to be the biggest chunk of the workforce, which is the millennials. It's going to be 75% of the workforce. And their work habits and their learning habits have changed. They have access to education. They want on-demand learning. They feel that the informal type of learning may need recognition, but at the same time they don't need the kind of recognition that used to be in terms of like university degrees or credit for their type for their own learning experiences. Also, we talk about the millennials as the major component of the workforce next, but there's also Generation Z, which basically the oldest is graduating this year. So they're going to be in the workforce as well. And they have also a more expanded view of learning and learning experience. So when I think of learning experience, I always feel that depending on the area, or depending on the topic, or depending on the subject, or depending on the learning objective in the end, to find the key motivator for acquiring this knowledge or for acquiring this piece of information. So when we try to design learning experiences, they also include this informal aspect of learning. So we need to be able to facilitate the ecosystem for learners to seek the knowledge, because this is one of the key points of retaining knowledge and making it or keeping it.
We need to be more empathetic, maybe to wear their glasses, to think using their thinking patterns, to be knowledgeable of their very short attention span.
Yes. Well, yes, they do. We may observe it as short attention span, but maybe it's a diverse attention span.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's but not just specifically Generation Z or millennials, but
it's
also
being contagious, maybe.
But also non-millennials. Everyone has a key point for motivating their own intention to learn. And when you have an intention to learn something, any piece of information, then you actually can process it and you can retain it and you can keep it as use it as part of your own scheme of doing things. So we talked about the transformation in the workforce and what it needs. So it's also about human skills, as you mentioned. And these human skills include the 21st century skills that we always refer to, and especially K-12, and I'm sure my colleague will talk about that. And so how we start accessing these 21st century skills is by starting from schools. So you have to think of policies and frameworks for schools. So someone in the earlier panel mentioned coding. Coding could be one activity that could help students learn the skill of problem solving. And this is what they need. They need leadership skills. So a lot of the jobs that are disappearing, in return, there are more jobs that are being created, but these jobs have a heavy reliance on these human skills, on leadership skills, on creativity, on communication. So this is what we have to look at, and this is what...
We'll elaborate on this topic among a few others, Ruba,
Okay.
but I need to move to Michelle. I'll get back to you shortly. Michelle Khoury, doctor to be, you're director of Eastwood International School. You have a background in business, international education and development, and in finance and planning, and most recently educational leadership. You worked in the financial sector, then moved into the field of academia and the world of education. You're innovative and you exert relentless desire to integrate technology into education. Hence, you are the Apple Professional Development Consultant and Apple Distinguished Educator. You have trained hundreds of faculty members and administrators on this integration of technology and given educational technology workshops. I was stalking you on Instagram. Under his name, Michel mentions that he will be the Minister of Education in the year 2025. Let's hope.
Let's hope. Thank you.
With that level of optimism, we're starting the discussion with Michel. During the coffee break, we were talking about some topics, and you were trying to envision the world in like 30 years from now.
Sure.
Okay, are our educational platforms ready to your vision of the world 30 years from now? And what is your vision of the world?
Interesting question. So,
from the education perspective.
Very interesting question, thank you. I actually want to pause for a second and ask a question to the audience, to the complete audience. And I know there's a big discrepancy between the eldest and the youngest. But I want to ask you, who of you have been using technology efficiently for the last 5 years? Just with a raise of hands. The last 10 years? The last 15 years? The last 20 years?
Some of our guests weren't there.
Exactly, so some weren't born.
The ladies.
So, what I'm trying to get to is, we've only been using technology somewhat efficiently over the last, I would say, about 10 years. But imagine the children that are coming into our educational systems have been using technology from the day they were born. And they've been having this platform from the day they were born. So the entire landscape of education should change. And essentially it hasn't changed. And when we talk about the future, and when we talk about jobs in 30 years or 40 years, and whatever, how many years, we do talk about, we don't know what these jobs are going to look like. We don't know what skills students are going to need. And one of them could be coding, you're absolutely right. And one of them could be interpersonal or human skills, like you mentioned. And some of them could be data scientists, like we so desperately need. But I think to bring back the basis of education are the interpersonal skills, is the emotional intelligence. Because when you see a child on his iPad, day in and day out, eating on an iPad, playing with an iPad, being on an iPad, and half of us are guilty of this. That's not education at all. I want to go through a couple of notes I took as I was sitting. We were talking about the disruption of technology. We are the disruptors of technology now, but our children are not. Because for them, this is it. It's not new. For them, it's not disruptive. So when we talk about education, we at Eastwood, we're now brainstorming a few critical redirections of the growth mindset we want for our children. And what Sheikh Nadeem mentioned is that, the most dangerous variable of technology is the data. We're all worried about the data. Now every website you see that pops up, cookies. Are we allowed to, capture your information? Data. And when we talk about data, when we talk about the importance of data, I think is an extremely dangerous world for us to be living in right now. And if you think of it, when someone can track you, and when someone knows exactly what you're doing at what time and how many times you've ordered something on Amazon and after how many days and so on and so forth, that is dangerous. So what we're doing is, at Eastwood, we've taken a step back and we are trying to help our children understand data, privacy, cybersecurity, and synthesis of analysis. And I think that's the most important aspect, is we were all taught to memorize. No one cares about memorization if the information is free. Is that correct? Right? So what's the point of memorization? Unless you truly love the subject matter. You like history, you're going to memorize history. You like math and physics, you're going to love math and physics. But at the end of the day, there's no point to actual memorization. And I remember a quote by Simon Sinek. And Simon Sinek is this author. He talks a lot about digital transformation and disruption and so on and so forth. And he's like, no one will pay you. No company will pay you for your information. They will pay you to be able to solve a bigger problem. And being able to solve a bigger problem requires collaboration, communication, and human skills. And that's it. So if we focus, if these are the 3 or 4 or 5 variable pillars that we teach in our educational system, it should be that. Technology is only an enabler. It's only for synthesizing of information. Now, of course, are we dealing with companies out of London and out of Australia for virtual reality for students that can't come to class? Sure, we may be. But at the end of the day, the teacher's still teaching. We're not relying on MOOCs. And I've taken some MOOCs and I've found them to be personally useless. I don't know about your experience, but sitting in front of a computer, clicking on that mouse pad, that's not education at all.
Thank you, Michelle. I'll get back to you shortly as well. Thank you. So, Saad Abdallah, being the co-founder and CEO of Libro, you work on turning the youth challenges into opportunities. After having talked about the challenges facing women, there are certain barriers towards youth innovation. What are these barriers, and how can we confront them based on your experience in this socially entrepreneurial venture that you have?
Actually, the main challenge I'm seeing with youth is demotivation, and that's why I started with this introduction. And they don't know the tools, they're not motivated enough to find the tools. Like from a simple example of how to write like the best CV ever. You don't need a career coach, you can simply go to a LinkedIn link coming from LinkedIn people writing them and then write your own CV. So there's zero investment because they are being demotivated. Nevertheless, they want people giving them hope. Once you give them hope, you see that the innovation is coming further and further with them and they are trying even more. And that's the importance of community work because we are surrounded with like-minded people. And this is the kind of culture we need to spread among our youth at schools or at universities. So in addition to the education we're getting, we need to be educated by other people. So I learn a lot from my students, from the people I work with. So I think being part of communities, if it's Facebook Deaf Circle, if it's part of Red Cross, any kind of humanitarian work, I think it will work a lot on our human skills we mentioned. It will whenever we learn more, we understand that we need to learn even more and more. And I think this is the education we want to give more to our students. They have the potential. They have the potential, they have the skills, they just need a certain push of motivation. But once we do it, they can give really big outcome in return.
Thank you. Getting back to Salim Shhadi, محفوظ الألقاب أكيد للجميع. How can digital technologies and skills accelerate progress towards the sustainable development goals for education? You talk about the technological aspect and you talk about the sustainability aspect. So how can this be accelerated?
Actually, this could be accelerated by the integration, as I said back again, of the digital skills and life skills and the work skills into the education system by itself. And integrating those skills at early stages at the schools and having the students learn the use of ICT as a learning tool and use like blended learning, different kind of learning to promote their skills for the future jobs, which is coming from.
Does this contribute to inclusiveness, effective learning, improved data availability? And do these contribute to attaining SDG number 4, which is quality education, and in what sense?
Yes, because SDG goal talks about actually lifelong learning, it talks about relevant skills, it talks about employability skills, decent jobs. So it's all related. The education actually is relevant to the labor market needs and demands and supports the needs of the labor market and the jobs after. And the unemployment rate will be reduced because the unemployment rate in Lebanon exceeds 25%, which tells you that the education system is not responding to the labor market needs and demands. So we're integrating the digital skills and life skills and work skills and entrepreneurship skills into education to boost our unemployment rate. I want to mention something like this also was mentioned earlier about the graduates. The graduates of universities, technical and education moves they might have the skills required to do a job, but they lack the motivation.
Yeah, as Sarah has mentioned.
And for that one, with the Starlight Foundation in Lebanon, we did develop a toolkit for advocating for unemployment of youth in Lebanon, and we conducted 2 training centers as a team for that. And we had some success stories because the toolkit actually is based on 2 issues, like promoting employment, supporting employment, by capacity building related to CV writing, how to do interview, and how to sell yourself to get a job. And other part, entrepreneurship skills and using digital skills and using the multimedia. And it was really very successful with that one. We had some success stories and we can be repeating that one. And we are doing a lot of things with that one and other activities to bring the labor market actually with the education system. Because the public-private partnership is missing. The private sector is working alone, the education system is working alone. There is no coordination between both. And we're working on that one to enhance public-private partnerships to bring the technology that requires from the labor market to the education system and integrating all the way through.
Perfect. Ruba, when you talk about learning experience design and integration of technology into the learning process, this leaves us with a question regarding the role of traditional institutions for learning. What's their role nowadays?
If you're referring to traditional institutions as in universities and schools and training centers and all that, as you said, the role is still there and the role is very important. What they have now is the opportunity to use a variety of tools and enablers of the learning experience. So the role, and from that perspective, the role of the teacher or mentor is to facilitate the learner's own experience of their learning, because they will, to be able to retain knowledge, they have to be motivated to learn. At the same time, we see a shift a little bit now with blockchain or with the record keeping, at least. There's a certain democratization of learning and basically breaking this barrier where only a university or a school or a training center or a person can teach you something. Basically with records and there's a blockchain, for example, a record system for owning your own records. So instead of having to go to the university to get your diploma or your certificate, send it to your to people on that you're applying for jobs or your CV. You can actually own your own record through a wallet. There's a very nice company that we met and we work with called BlockRex. It's a Lebanese company. And they're working with several institutions in Lebanon to transform their record system into the blockchain. So it becomes in the learner's wallet. They might be taking a course on, or not even taking a course, having a certain experience that they learned something for, and they can verify this experience through an institution, and this can be also added to their record of learning. So it just diversifies the options.
And the sources of knowledge.
And sources of knowledge, and with credibility to these sources of
Before
knowledge.
moving to Michelle and finishing with Michelle, Sarah has something to add. Okay.
Just have one comment, like now Facebook or Google are seriously considering not to take like any bachelor or master degree into consideration, especially for people with like software engineering or technical background. They care more, for example, about their GitHub, how they contributed to open source or all of that. So I think part of the solutions in the educational system is to actually teach our students how to work on themselves, like the way of learning and not an actual outcome, because soon it's all our work, our experience, our projects, our contribution that's going to make the whole sense. Not only the bachelor, because not only here, even at Stanford University, they are unable to cope with the fast technologies, because to go into the curriculum it takes a lot of time. So I think we need to focus a little bit as well just on the way, how we think, how we develop ourselves, how we do self-learning, not only about exact curriculum and part at university.
Michelle, do you want to comment on this?
Actually, I want to comment on both of them.
I mean, both briefly, because I have one final question.
Both very good initiatives. Both very good initiatives. No, I want to talk about, really briefly about, blockchain is a great initiative, that's glad, and the solution to education is to work on yourself. But then again, when you define the quality of education, define what quality education is. I mean, is it a passing brevet or bac? Good for you. And then what? And then when you go into university, is it a studying business? And then what? But if you're not coming out with a college degree and actually have a job lined up waiting for you, what's the whole point? You mentioned public-private partnerships. Why doesn't that happen in education? And what's the quality of education in the public institutions? And why can't we help them? Because without public support and without public institutions, we know that the government is bound, or the growth of the government is bound to fail. Because at the end of the day, the majority of the students are not going to private schools, even though we think so. The majority, believe it or not, are actually going to public schools. So talk about quality, talk about technology, talk about disruption of technology, but then there's a major variable is the cost. The cost of education, the cost of technology. I mean, even at Eastwood, and I'll give you a small statistic, we paid $37,000 for our internet a year. Is that normal? Just so students can be connected on the iPad for 8 hours a day. $37,000 per campus. We have 2 campuses. You do the math. And we're considered a decent school. I mean, I consider our school the best school, but which of those schools, which of those public schools are able to emulate that? So in this case, we really can't talk about disruption of education and technology in the public school sector. And that's very sad for me. Just wanted to mention that.
If I were to ask you the final question, assume that you are being appointed now the Minister of Education, where the help of the Minister of Education. عم سلمك حقيبة الوزير بدك تحط أول ريفورم بقلب هذه الحقيبة. What's the first reform you think of in 30 seconds?
Every school needs some sort of type of accreditation. There are plenty of schools and universities with 0 accreditation and no oversight. Why don't we have governmental oversight of what our schools are doing inside their classes and what our schools are, and what the leadership is doing inside their schools? That's number 1. Number 2 is to be able to pay our public school teachers. Because if you know the landscape of the public schools, is that the teachers don't get paid except once a year. So for me, it would be really taking care of the faculty and staff and making sure there's proper oversight to private, especially private schools and public schools.
Thanks a lot, Michelle. We all vote for him. Okay, honorable guests, I highly thank you. Salim Shahade, you've updated us with the importance of technical and vocational education and how it's being trendy and how we can pull that into the labor market via the labor market information system. Sarah Abdullah, based on your experience with women in the tech industry and with the youth, you have talked and elaborated on how to get rid of the impediments towards innovation and towards the entry of women into the workplace. Ruba, you have elaborated on the different sources of knowledge which we can acquire while blending maybe the classical education with the modern education. And Michelle Khoury, thanks for your vision of the future of education and how we can leverage the new educational platforms and inject this vision into it. So thanks for your patience. It's already 8:05. If you have a burning question, I'll take it. Who has a burning question? Okay, we have one more there. Yeah, I have one briefly, straight to the point. And whom do you like to ask? I'll take 2 or 3 questions, please.
Hello, my name is Sarah, and I'm a founder of a marketing agency. So I live in the digital world already. My question is to Dr. Michelle. You say that you are working on the digital learning and everything that has to do with learning and education. Have you ever thought about the parents and how to educate the parents to endure this learning system and how to work in the parental coaching of how to deal with this boys and girls going on the iPad all the time? So this needs to have parental coaching about this, no?
Sure, you're absolutely right, and that's a good question too. When we first piloted our iPad program about 8 years ago, we brought in a lot of the parents and we taught them what the iPad actually does. Because the iPad actually came out about 10 years ago and we piloted it a year and a half later. We continue giving sessions to parents and we continue giving literature to parents about how to properly use technology at home when students are not in school and the proper oversight. So we have plenty of literature on that. If we want to coach parents, it'll make us look very superior. We want to be able to make sure that we partner up with them for the sake of their children and for a growing generation. Yeah.
Another question?
Thank you.
Yeah, please.
Okay, please go ahead.
Dr. Michelle, how are you?
By the way, I'm not a doctor yet. I will be in about 5 months, hopefully. But thank you.
Okay. I have a fast question related to the education and the modern education using the technology. My question is simple. You said about the cost. I'm not talking economically how it will cost for our children. I'm asking about the cost of emotional intelligence. Because lately I have 2 children. I'm a parent. And I know that it's affect negatively to the children using the technology.
Absolutely, it does.
So how we can prepare ourselves as a parent to avoid these kind of problems for a better future for our kids.
How old are your kids?
6.5 and...
By the way, that wasn't a simple question. That's a loaded question. That's like peeling an onion.
No, but we can, as educational, we need to work on the educational, to educate the parents, also to educate the children in a way to use this technology in a better way and avoid the negative part of it.
Sure. So first of all, we teach emotional intelligence in our school. If your kids are in Eastwood, you're more than welcome to join Eastwood. That's number 1. Number 2. Number 2. I think it's the school's responsibility and the faculty's responsibility to teach children how to use the technology responsibly. And that means not being on an iPad 8 hours a day, even though we're a full iPad program, so we're a paperless school. Our entire curriculum is on the iPad, but that doesn't mean the child is on an iPad for 8 hours a day. The child is on an iPad for a few reasons, because the way I learn is completely different than the way you learn, right? Different thumbprint, you have a different thumbprint. So children get to take a major decision on how they want to learn. So if a teacher's writing up on a board something, and a child doesn't feel like writing it down, that child can take a picture of it and a snapshot, can write up on it, and then later review it at home. Technology is used also for synthesis of information. So if I ask you now in a classroom, we're all in one big classroom right now, and if I ask you one question, we're in 4th grade right now, who is Sugata Mitra? What would you do? You would actually open up your iPad and Google who Sugata Mitra is. And that's why we use, and that's how we teach technology and the proper use of technology at our institution.
Thanks again. رح يكون عندكم التشانس over coffee إذا بدكم أنتم ضاغرين to
You can come
discuss
see me.
the discussion with our honorable guests. I think they deserve